Hey YouTube, this is Evan Magician 34, and I have my April 14th YCS Arlington or Dallas, depending on who you ask, round matchups. It was attendance of, I was told, 1,211 people, and that meant 11 rounds, 9 rounds on the first day, 2 on the second. And they said there was a chance you could make it to day 2 off of 3 losses if your tiebreakers were good enough, but they ended up not cutting it that way, so I didn't quite make it to day 2. But I still played all 9 rounds and ranked very well on day 1. So I'll go ahead and tell you about my matchup so you got an idea of what the meta's looking like right now. Round 1, I played against Ninja Dragons. It wasn't exactly a meta build. I get the feeling the guy wasn't very familiar with the deck necessarily. Everything was cool game 1. He Hanzo'd. Okay, fine. He goes and searches Super Transformation Art. Sets like 2 back rows, says go. Alright, fairly standard. And as soon as I threaten the Hanzo by summoning an alias, I think it was, he goes Super Transformation Art. Okay, I can't do much about it, but I was kind of baiting the play anyway. And I'm expecting, okay, here comes White Dragon Ninja. I hope that's not safe zone in the back row, or this could get a little long and annoying. And it turns into a Tyrant Dragon, which was kind of the clue that it was an unusual opponent. He had some unusual stuff, like I say, wasn't exactly meta. He took me game 3 just because I got like no monster destruction game 2, and he like Fuma shurikened one of his guys and just beat me down because I was running heroes. So it's kind of funny, but obviously ended up beating him, so I'm 1-0. Round 2, I face off against GB Rabbit. It was actually a pretty cool deck. It was running Ondals, and it would just use the rescue rabbits to go get Ondals and tag with them and stuff like that. It was pretty interesting. It ran Horn of the Phantom Beasts and Lances and stuff like that. So it had some really cool tricks. But I 2-0'd him anyway. Heroes kind of don't, or Gladiator Beasts don't like playing against heroes anyway. So that takes us to round 3, and I get my first mirror match against another hero deck. It was pretty good. We ended up going game 3. And he is a fair player. He had a decent build, pretty standard. And the only reason I think he ended up beating me game 3 was he didn't summon for a couple of turns even after I baited him to summon, and so I thought, okay, I'm going to take the risk and try to push. But apparently he'd just been taking the damage to try to bait me for Super Poly. So it was kind of it was kind of a judgment call sort of thing. And it ended up not going in my favor, and there were other plays, but he ended up grinding it out after that. So maybe if I played a little more conservative, I could have punished him for trying to bait me, but what happens, happens. So I'm 2-1 at this point. And then, to my great surprise, I actually played against another Gladiator Beast player, and he was running like more of an old school, just standard issue Gladiator Beast deck. And it was pretty good overall, I'd have to say. And I gotta admit, I did get 2-0'd. I didn't get the best hands, and heroes are one of those decks where you can get bad hands, but to be fair, that's just the risk you take when you play a deck like that. And I had some okay stuff, but basically what it was I couldn't get rid of the Lucaris that came out early, and once you tag in those 2100 point Lucaris, they can be difficult for me to get over. And I never saw Super Poly, which would have been a great way to get rid of it. So, that's just how it goes. So I'm 2-2 at this point, and I'm already feeling kind of like, I don't know, but X and 2 could make it to day 2. And I've had some unusual things happen, so, why not stay in? Round 5, I actually played against Agents, which was kind of a surprise. And he was even using, like, Valhalla to summon Christie and stuff like that. Actually, game 2, he got a first turn Christie out, which was kind of interesting. But I ended up beating him because Agents just don't have the, the force anymore that they used to. Losing the Earth slows him down just enough. He actually first turned Venus to me every game, too, which was kind of impressive, considering you don't have the Earth to go search it, but, you still have the 3 Venuses and whatnot. But, he couldn't toe the line, so I'm 3-2, and round 6, I ended up pairing off against Dark Worlds. It was a good Dark World deck. I was running 3 Trance Arc Fiends. It was very solid. I ended up 2-0ing him, partially because I just have a lot of point removal, so it was kind of hard for him to get his stuff off in game 1. And game 2, I side a lot of stuff, and you can check my side deck over there. And those DD Crows really paid off against him, and the Trance Arc Fiends were slowly cycling him back. But that was just taking too long for him, and I was able to beat him down. So, ended up going 2-0 against him, so now I'm 4-2 in the tournament, feeling pretty good. And I pair off against Inzectors. It's a very standard Inzector deck. He's a good player. But my deck actually has a pretty good matchup against Insectors. There's just so much removal where, they try to summon and they can't get the equip to go off because I kill the guy. Torrentials, Veilers, Compulses. There's just so much, and it was too much for him to deal with, too hard for him to answer it. My monsters were all pretty big, and I just beat him down and 2-0'd that guy. And I go round 8. I'm 5-2, so I'm feeling okay. Only 2 more rounds to go. I can pull 2 more wins out. Pair against Windups. He was a pretty good player. I'd say he was really good. He obviously knew the deck very well. And we ended up going game 3. We went into time. Like, we just started game 3 and went to time. And basically, he had the nut hand, and he went off and he cycled my hand out. And I had no cards, which obviously makes it really hard to play against him. Plus, he had a full field of monsters, and there's just nothing I can do. The other 2 games were pretty standard, and I got real close to just 2-0ing him. He managed to pull it out there. Good play on his part. So he ended up giving me my 3rd loss, but I thought, why not? Stick in. There's only 1 more round anyway. And my 9th round opponent is another hero deck, my 2nd mirror match of the day. It was Hero Skill Drain, so game 1, his Skill Drains are kind of hurting him a little bit against me, because the only card it really matters against in my deck is my Elemental Hero Stratus, who comes out really early. So he had 2 to 3 dead cards. I wasn't sure how many he was running in his deck to start with against me, and I played a little bit more conservatively in this matchup than I had in that one, and sliding into the 3rd Super Poly and whatnot, just ended up taking him out to another 2-0 win. Good player, but he just didn't have it in the mirror match. I think my build for heroes actually has a little edge over other hero decks on average. So those are my 9 rounds. I went 6-3, and I think arguably, had it not been for a debatable play early, I probably could have been 7-2. In fact, can't. That's always questionable against that deck. That's what windups are supposed to do. I won't call that one, and I could have won it. So basically, I think I probably could have gone 7-2 if I played it just a little different. But those are my matchups. And just from what I understand from the other players who were there, heroes were a pretty populous deck at the event. But I also saw a lot of the other standard issue stuff, and a lot of the top tables were filled with your standard issue Dino Rabbit, and Insectors were running around. But a lot of the Insector players weren't really placing as well, and they took a lot of early losses that I saw. They were kind of sitting at the mid to low tables all day, for the most part, numerically. I'm not saying that there weren't good Insector players who placed well, but I'm saying that a lot of the Insector players didn't do so well. So just food for thought. And anyway, until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more cool videos.